thank you all so much for attending this conference. And I do want to say before we begin, if you feel it in your heart, and if you have gained some shifts these past few days, and if your heart so feels, if you could donate to Portal to Ascension, that would really help. And Neil can put that up to the portaltoascension.org, because that's so important that it's showing a flow, and so we can do more of these things, and it's a way of showing your love. Every little bit helps. So let's go ahead and start. So my topic today is, and here we go, star beings, the modern Jedi. And I'm going to go over, I have a little bit about me and how we're going to move forward today. But let me tell you just a little bit, so you know a little bit. Joan covered some of the things that I do. When I have always been a seer, and with my, I'm not going to go too much into this, but just to give you an idea how I came into my spiritual superpowers and being a Jedi master. I think that might be sort of important, so that's my topic. When I was, I had my first NDE as a prenatal, and I remember being spirit and just felt an intense love for my mom. From there, I had one at 3, 4, and at 5. And at 5, I was dead 2 hours, spent it 3 days in induced coma after they brought me back, barely. Spent it with Christ and these heavenly realms, and he taught me things. And then I had a couple after that. That actually opened the veil every time to these higher realms. So that's why I can go at will to these different states. Then I own an advertising agency. That's why I love visuals. You'll see I'm a big visual person. And so I like to do things big because, own the advertising agency, went to art school, went to communication arts and design and marketing, and did that 4 years. And then I own an advertising agency, and I use this now for me. And it's so joyful to use it for me and for other star beings to help them and promote their events or my events. And so I get to use it for me instead of for, an industrial company that wants to sell, bolts or nails. This is a little bit more this is much more to my heart. So this is how I came upon this. And then later in life, I was called spirit. I know you watching probably have had that moment where you've had spirit call you, and it's not always exciting when you hear that. You're like, really? You want me to do this? And I was called to be able to move forward with my abilities and come out publicly. And actually, it was Christ. He said, it's time, and it's going to help a lot of people. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to be seen as a charlatan. He said, so you won't. And I haven't been. And then I eventually trained 8 years extensively in the British style of evidential mediumship. And we were all at a very high level. I've trained with over 600 mediums, but I trained with my teachers as John Holland, Tony Stockwell, Lisa Williams, I'm certified by her, and Janet Novak, and trained with them and all these mediums around the world, because I wanted to be able to hold up against the entire world this ability. Either it was going to be a big go or not. And there's whole stories on that. But I ended up doing a lot of stage work. I've done stage before thousands of people when I used to do these women's expos. I toured 3 years, which gave me my honed in on my ability for stage worker, hecklers, and all. I can handle all that. And we would have like 35,000 people in a weekend. But then when we had the pandemic happen, the isolation, whatever you want to call it, that changed things, right? And so it gave me then I got another message. Christ came to me and said, carry his messages. I started channeling. And then it started from there, the Galactic Federation and contact. And that's what we're going to pick up. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about what is first contact? How do we prepare? Then we're going to go into the modern Jedi. What is the modern Jedi? Okay. And then the final message and summary is a call to arms on how do we mobilize. So I'm using this whole Star Wars theme because I dig it, number one, because I'm like a nerd at heart. But I think it's appropriate for this. So what is first contact? How do we prepare for it? Isn't that cool? Look, you just be in the countryside, the mothership lands, and then the doors open. It's like, it's like a cruise ship. You go down, have a little galactic coffee. All right. So what is the first contact versus being a contactee? So first contact, in my understanding, is when an extraterrestrial life is witnessed by most of the general population on planet Earth. However, first contact is not does we need to take in consideration that those persons that have already have or having contact experience, including myself, or ongoing communications on an individual basis with ETs or ultra dimensionals. And so the extraterrestrials, more physical form, the ultra dimensionals, more the higher realms, that they can either form a body like an angelic, they can come into our visual field, or we can just see them like light, colors of light, or we can more importantly see them with our etheric bodies. So let's keep moving. All right, so how would people react first to first contact with these non-earth beings? And I have to, this is the Syrian goofy side here. We're not always serious. I have this image in my mind like, whoa, how would people react? We must take under consideration, what is each person's level of awareness? What is their understanding already? What do they already think of ETs? Do they already have a bad image of them? Do they think, yay, I can't wait, like us watching? What kind of understanding do they have? Would they be in fear, confusion? They could be lost. It could be just excitement. What would it be? So, and I have this here just to, thinking back on humanity's history, we haven't always received this well. And that's where we come into play, the star seeds, to make this safe and normalize it and let people know that we are them. All right. So would world governments assist humanity or spin the truth once more? If first contact happened at the same time around the world, like in the series V, which was very cool. I hated when that went off. That was a really good series. And yeah, there was one early 80s or whatever. That was okay too. But the later one I really like. What type of worldwide emotions would this evoke? Would this be outside of government control? I'm leaning yes. This would be ultimately when the Confederation of Planets agreed to make themselves known to all persons on Earth. This is way bigger than the governments of Earth. Okay, this is a planetary thing. And they're not going, in my opinion, going to just show up and just invade the governments that in power, whatever. They would most likely they would have some kind of indication, but they may not agree with it because it would change so much. But first, before we dive too deep, I want us to look at humanity's current emotional scale or state. We're going to have fun in this one, right? And you got to take, we're going to have a good attitude about this because they don't have to stay there, right? So we're going to look at the asleep, the angry, and the waymakers. All right. So the first one is the asleep. And I know, just think of people that you know that are like this. It might be in your family. We all have that. That's why we were born into them. Signs are, they're just content, non-questioning, awareness as it fits their own self needs and desires, turns back on the facts. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. They won't even look at it many times. Fear of truths that don't fit their reality, and they're conformists. Now, I had to pick this picture. This is me with my sarcasm. The family has literally, the whole family. See, it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 of them have turned their back on humanity, and they're just in a glazed over state looking at the fireworks at Disney, which I had to use Disney because they're not even aware of what's going on there. So, which has really bummed it out for a lot of us that used to like Disney. But anyhow, there they are, unaware, just want to have their fun. Then we go into the angry. Now, the signs of this are intense desire to be right. And that could be, in politics, either side. Okay. It's just the intense desire to be right, usually not open for debate of another's reality, which is why I kept, did the finger pointing. Can only see the reality within a spectrum of duality, rarely engages in mind-opening topics. So that's something that I'll see. I don't need to explain a lot of that, but I do want to explain more about the Waymaker. These are the heroes, and that's you watching. And the signs are selfless, love-based philosophy that offers conscious, expanding solutions to assist humanity. Martyr for the greater good. Yeah, y'all got to admit it. A lot of y'all are martyrs. You've done it. You've died a few times in life trying to come back for this big kickoff now. But, we don't die. We live eternally. So that's good news. Passionate about helping others through the healing or spiritual arts, the arts themselves, because we can communicate like Victor has this weekend. Neil, poetry, music, art, like Joan, community, civil rights, or through humanitarian services. The waymaker. So the definition literally of the waymaker is a noun, one that makes a path in the road. So we are the one, us here today, we're making a new way. We're making a path through the road because people are going to need to turn to someone. And this was a term. I like to look at the derivation of, where words originated. A lot of times when people get hung up in words, it's because they had a lot of life, let's say in France in the 1800s when it came out. And so they have to clear some words back then because they had maybe some death issues associated with that. So I always look at the derivation, but it's the 16th, 17th century, and it's about keeping things in good repair. Now, another waymaker is that you might hear people in the Bible talk about waymakers, and so this is being God in the Bible, being a waymaker. And I am the Lord who opened a way through the waters, through a path through the sea. I called forth the mighty army of Egypt and his chariots and horses, and I drew them beneath the waves, and they drowned, and their lives snuffed out like candles. But forget all that. It is nothing compared to what I can do. And I am about to do a brand new thing. And see, it's already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness for my people to come home and create rivers for them in the desert. But I want you to think about that. Aren't we doing that? What is the desert? It could be a spiritual desert. And we're going to offer a Shangri-La. All right. So our consciousness is creating a new and better reality. We're doing it right now. We're doing it, this weekend. We're doing it right now as our consciousness is shifting as one. It's important for us to enhance our reality to have a love-based, Christ-conscious mind. We do that through that individually, and we also do that as a soul community, just like we're doing. We join our intentions for a better world through thought waves, our soul consciousness, and send them to each other through the crystalline light grid system that surrounds this earth plane, which, by the way, I helped create. Since I'm a Syrian celestial, I did. I had Chiron come to me one time and said, well, you finished he did a channel message. I mean, I was like, Chiron, okay. And it was funny because I was on Lee Carroll's thing. I said, I've never channeled him before. He talked about being magnetic a lot and about me finishing my crystalline grids. So I thought that was kind of exciting. So I don't know. I'm busy at night, I guess. We all are. Actions that can enhance and raise our emotional state, awareness, and consciousness. Having your own spiritual should be spiritually transformative experiences. And those would include things like this: witnessing UFOs or ET or ultra-dimensional phenomena, ghost, Kundalini awakenings, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, or having an NDE. Being part of ascension community like this one, being plugged into people that you've met so many people, right? So you've got a lot of resources. Reading spiritual books and watching YouTube channels like Portal to Ascension or Seeking Heaven channel or Gaia TV, anything where they discuss mind-opening spiritual topics. All right. Where did my interest in UFO and space start? Okay. So my mom had me super young. I felt like that I should show a little bit of myself. Ugh, so here we go. And so I live with my grandparents. We moved in with her. She had a shotgun marriage. Didn't work out. A couple weeks later, they were just too young. They were 18, just turned 18. So we moved back in with my grandparents. And so they would show me all these old movies and these old toys. As a matter of fact, I found this toy. This is literally a toy they gave me, which is that dude over there, the high wheel robot. When I was a kid, and he used to work. You hold this up, and then you wind him up. I got to grease him or something. And then he would walk, which is really cool. And then another toy they gave me, which I love because it was space. And you put this here, and this is flying saucers. See, this is so cool. Okay, so these were toys. I wasn't, 10. I mean, they'd had batteries and stuff back then when I was born. But because of their generation, I was able to see all these really cool toys. And this one at the bottom, when the spaceship one, I just bought that in Robot Land because it's really cool. So I want to tell you how I kind of opened my eyes up to this whole UFO thing. I was always very interested. I love watching Star Trek with my grandparents at night. I just thought I was amazed at all these characters in space they could meet. I just loved it. And I would just fall asleep looking at Star Trek. So later on in life, okay, there I'm holding a martini. Yes, that is me. I'm about 34. This happened actually more around 24, but I didn't want to dig around pictures too long because, I've been co-hosting and doing other stuff. So we'll go with this one. So in the late 80s, I went to this MUFON meeting with my sister-in-law to Atlanta, and she used to be in MUFON. Okay. She used to be the secretary of the Charlotte area, and she would bring in these people. And so, I didn't know much about MUFON. I was like, okay, we'll go. I was just open minded. I was like, okay. And we went to this social party. Yes, I probably was drinking a martini. That's me. And Bob Lazar, which I didn't know that was Bob Lazar, ended up talking to me. I thought he was kind of, because I'm a young chick. I thought he was kind of goofy. I was like, "Who's this goofy guy?" And he was very quiet. He was just very introverted. Wouldn't talk to anyone. And he wedged himself in between a doorway. It's just kind of weird. It was his safety area. And then he started talking to me because I was like, "Hi," I was just so friendly. And he began to tell me about, I work for this place for Area 51. At this point, I'm like, Area 51, I don't know what that is. And he began telling me the proportion of spaceships and how they work, and how they work with travel, and that they bend time and it snaps back like a rubber band. And I just went, oh, okay. And I was so non-threatening. So he just told me all this stuff. And at the time, it didn't dawn on me till later on in life, like that was pretty substantial, that I'd spent probably 30 minutes talking to Bob Lazar before anyone knew who he was. He was actually on the run back then. Now, of course, everybody knows who he is, but there is a picture of him around 1989, which is right around this happened. And this is they took his drawing and then they made it into a nicer rendering. And then you can see his sketches below. He's got his identity card where he worked, whatever, for the government, 51. He said, well, my identity has been taken. I'm not even registered that I've been born. And I was like, and at that time, I remembered that. And I was going, how's that possible? So he was very brave to come out, and he explained this propulsion system, which, really special now, look back on it. So as we went along, my sister-in-law still involved with MUFON. Now we're in the mid 90s. So she was not much of a hostess, and she was kind of an odd duck, very smart though. And she said, "Hey, why don't we? I have some people MUFON. Why don't at the time, my husband and I had an apartment, and why don't we bring them over?" And we're like, okay, because we don't mind entertaining. I mean, we were fine with that. And so she became good friends with Linda Moulton Howe. But I remember that's back when Linda was young. She came over to our apartment one or two times, and she for a long time had a friendship with Ginger, my sister-in-law. But she came over when she was doing the research, which is really fascinating now, for an alien harvest. And she literally had notes and research, and we still have the old VHS or whatever, from way back. When she was doing the research, and she stumbled upon this. Of course, now we all know she's an expert in this area, ufology and so forth. But at the time, she was doing an HBO thing, and she was doing research in this candle mutilation, because there's just no way that we have the science to do this, and it led her on her path. And then we also had Donald Smith come over to the house, and he would bring all his clippings and things in his research in his first book with Kevin Randall with UFO Crash at Roswell. And he would bring that over to when he would come speak to the Charlotte MUFON, that's what we would do, as a courtesy, have them over, have some food, and they would just talk. And they would just talk about all this stuff. And I was just, we didn't say much. We just listened. And I look at what an honor that really was now. So my own personal experience, now we're going to fast forward it to present time. And so 2020, just to get a new unit of time, what's going on. All right, that's just a little back history. So 2020 was when a lot of stuff happened for a lot of us. But I got a message in March 17, 2020, and Christ came to me and said, I need you to carry my messages to people. And, they were sweet, like you'd imagine. There were about 15 of them. One got taken down. I have no idea why, how he's in charge of the angelic realms and all that. I don't know. It got taken down, but he would literally give me messages, and then he would give like scripture, like First Peter. But I'm like, I don't know. And then I would put it down, and then it ended up being exactly what he said. So I guess because I'm evidential medium, maybe I needed that evidence. I don't I don't know, but there were things you would expect. Be calm, focus on spiritual matters, all these things. And then he told me, I got taken off of Facebook because I was posting the links to these videos. I didn't even know anything about YouTube because I had an argument about that with him. I said, YouTube, really? Can't we do Rumble? He's like, no, you got to do YouTube. So anyhow, July of 2021, he said, you need to go on and start the Seeking Heaven channel. It was started Seeking Heaven, the near-death experience, and other phenomena. And I had a lot of other phenomena, which ticked off some of the end of years. I had Bigfoot, Dog Man, Starseed stuff, Galactic Linguist. I've had, Neil and Portal Ascension and Joan of Angel, all these people. But because I think that our consciousness is a big topic, you don't want to limit it. But he said, start this and have all religions and all topics of spiritual and time travel, everything. I said, okay, because I loved all these topics and love learning about that. So what happened during this time is I didn't realize that I would be activated on multiple levels. Not only did I get actually an activation accidentally from a Palladian in South Africa, and by the second when we did, the Syrian staff showed up, the council, and as well as others, and I lit the room up blue. I did that 3 more times. I literally emanated blue. So there's abilities we have that are really still untapped. And so I started seeing crafts and big ones too. So after my final DNA activation, I think it's a July 2021. It was after, I think, my second one, after I had it. And my husband and I were going to Asheville, North Carolina, which, by the way, Dr. Stephen Greer lived in Charlotte and saw his UFOs and went to Asheville and saw his UFOs. So I'm not trying to copy Dr. Stephen Greer, but that's just a little tidbit of information. This is where I saw these. So we're going to go to Asheville. It's about 2.5 hours from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're running late because we got to bring everything. We got to bring blankets. We got to bring our favorite pillow. We got to bring a blender. Oh, we got to bring food because we like our favorite foods. Oh, so it took forever. Then we got the dogs. So we finally leave, and it's about 6:45, and it's so the sun's going down at this point because it's summer, and we're going over a mountain. It's kind of like twilight, or not twilight, but it's not totally sunny yet, and it's not dark. And my husband, very casually, like it's the most normal thing, says, "Look at that." And he said it just like that. There was 5 huge crabs by his side of the car. Like, when they were closer than, and I want to show you, if you look at the middle slide, it was glowy like that, but much closer. Now, it wasn't the full shape of these over here, but that's what the highway looked like because we're going in the mountains. They were closer than this glowy thing, but they weren't like that. But that's what the landscape looked like. They were much closer. And I was like, and it's the strangest, most spiritual thing. It was beautiful, really. But I looked and I was like, wow. Like, I knew what it was. And I was like, it was the most normal. I see it every day. I go, look at that. And he goes, well, look at that. Over to my side was this massive, it looked like lava, this red lava. And it was beside me. And I was so excited. I didn't think of getting my phone because I was in this euphoric state. And I wasn't wishing to see a UFO. I actually didn't expect that. They actually followed just our car. It was great for a long time. I mean, like 7 minutes. I was very sad when they left, but they were by my side of the window, and I started telling them how much I loved them. And I knew they were my family, and I knew that it was a Syrian ship. And I said, I love you so much. And it's been so hard being here. I'm so happy to see you. I wish you'd just land. Why don't you do it? And so you can tell I'm one of the Earth, New Earth crew members, because I was not phased at all. I mean, seriously, I was like, I love you. So we had a little vacation, rain most of the weekend. As soon as we got back, I started doing these light codes. Anytime you see a UFO, per Mary Rodwell, who's been on my Seeking Heaven channel, she goes, Tamara, and I got her book. It's very good. I think she's coming up next. She said, you get a download. So I started drawing these writings, and I looked and searched and searched. And I finally realized they were Syrian, which kind of, again, evidentially kind of played into, I knew they were Syrian ships. So here we go. Now it's July, August, September, October. Okay. So what is it? 3 months later, same time in my backyard in Charlotte, I saw a freaking mothership. So what this mothership looked like, I was getting a pizza. My life, the accidental ascension. I got a pizza, bringing it back. It was dark. I'm pulling in. We have this long driveway. Pulling in, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm thinking at first glance it's a helicopter because it was awfully bright. I thought maybe they're looking for someone. I don't know. I couldn't. I'm humanly just thinking the first thing. So as I'm pulling in and I'm looking, I'm moving in slow to my driveway and I'm going, I had to literally go, what am I looking at? And what I was seeing was this, and I have to explain this based on this picture. It was big, huge. It was longer, but it was still oval, but it had more on the top. The bottom had individual lights, yellow, green, blue. They were individualized. However, around the ship was a spray of lights that looked like a prism. And it was the whole freaking, it was a mothership. I think, I believe it to be the Galactic Federation because I started getting messages from Aster. I'm like, who is this guy, Aster? And so it was like, oh my gosh. And I had to look. I said, what am I looking at? So I called my husband on the phone. I said, run outside. There's a big ass a mothership. So what it was, I don't know how it fit in my backyard because it obviously couldn't, but it's like it shrinked in size and fit. And it lasted about maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4, no more. And then it was gone, but it was very detailed. And I even shook my head and looked around, make sure I wasn't having a mirage. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was beautiful. I liked it. I wish it would happen every day. It was awesome. But I mean, I literally looked around and it was still there. So they have the technology to make it that fit smaller. And then it went, and then it was, and it went, and it sucked back. That's what it did. So then I started getting in my dream state. I'm going to tell you one particular about my Galactic Federation being on the ship, and I'm going to show you what being on the ship was like. So, all right. So this is me in my galactic outfit. You like that? That's where I want to live most of the time, right? I have a t-shirt that says that physically I'm here, but mentally I live in a planet far, far away. And that's about the truth. So, my dream, I had a dream, and I actually shared how I found out it was not a dream. Is I had a guest on president who's written like 28 books on UFOs, and he's been with MUFON, and he's also a contactee as well as pretty good medium. And it was really cool. I had him on a couple times. We really connected. I was very appreciative of having him on. But I told him in between our recordings, I told him what I'm about to tell you. And he was almost finishing what I was saying. He said, yeah, I've been in there too. I said, I was a very important guest. He goes, I understand, but I didn't know that he had heard all this before. So basically and this happened, started in 2020, the beginning. And I had this dream, and I woke up in my dream, and I'm still in my dream. And I realized it's not a dream. I was there so strongly astrally that I was there. And I looked, and I was on this bridge, and I'll show you. Well, this guy came to me, first of all. He had a little wider face. His eyes were further apart. He had, he looked like someone who would be in a Swedish 80s glam band, but he also probably looked Palladian, right? But he had the further eyesight, and he was greased kind of behind his head, came down here. He had a collar. I'm somewhere. I got to find the drawing. I have it somewhere that I drew it. And he said his name's Aster. And so I want to tell you about this now. So I said, who are you? He says, I control this ship. So in the ship, now I'm going to explain it more than what's here. It was open. It was massive. It's bigger. Okay. Imagine the Star Trek bridge. Okay. Now imagine bigger and all the way around open. Okay. It was huge. And all around the perimeter, there was like people like this guy, but they were standing. Everybody had little tight jumpsuits on. And since then, I've talked to other near-death experiencers. Said, yeah, have you been to the place? Blah, blah, blah. Because we don't just go always to the heavenly realm. Sometimes we'll go to Andromeda or different places or the Galactic Federation. And the little, and other people have seen this, but they had little suits on with the collars. They were very fitted. Everybody was thin. They had the little belts that connected. They had a little emblem, and they had these holographic things, and they would just pull it up and they would just start doing this stuff, right? And it would look like this, and they were all over the place. In the center was um, the bioluminescence engineering system that was propelling everything, the energy of the ship, and it was connected to Aster, okay, mentally. And so, first of all, if you look at this picture, I don't know if it's your left or right, but the one with the globe in it, these little chairs were not there, okay? It was not there. It was more open all the way around, but then it had more things around the side and more machines and so forth. The thing in the middle, it went up higher where you could actually sit on it if you wanted, and there was a light source of a ball, but then there was a light source that went all the way up through like the top of it, okay? And it was just exposed. I mean, and no one seemed to be upset by that. And so it I'm trying, it was much bigger than this, and there was a lot more people. It was just really busy. Okay. It was busier. It wasn't like people just sit in chairs like Star Trek, even though it's really cool. They were busy doing stuff, but it was very organized. And then as we're walking, he said, "Walk with me." And I said, first of all, I remember sitting in the front before we get further in the front, and one of these open windows, I sat down and I was like really nervous, and I looked down and all these freaking ships were coming off of it. Like it was a mother freaking big ass ship. Okay. All these huge other crafts were coming off of it. And I was going, I have never been up this high before. And that's where I remember being afraid of the heights, even that feeling. And he said, "It's time for you to know who you are and your mission." I said, "Okay." And he introduced him. He said, "Aster." He said, "You've forgotten." He said, "You are an esteemed member of the Galactic Confederation, and you're here on a mission, and we need to talk." But he was like serious but nice. He said, "Walk with me." So we started walking down this hall. And I'll show you more, but we start walking around. And he first waved his hand, and there was like a door. I was like, "Oh my," I was so amazed. I was like, "Oh my God, it's a door." It just popped open because you couldn't see it. It blended in with the side. It was curved, and he went like that. And then we walked into this area that looked like Shangri-La kind of jungle. It was paradise. And I was like, I don't know if it's a holodeck. I don't know what it was. I'm just saying he just opened it and we were there. And I was so amazed. I said, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?" He didn't say anything, didn't have personality like that. He's kind of more serious. And I said, "Oh, you want to talk about," we were talking mind to mind, okay, but just as clear as right now. And I said, "Oh, you want to talk about you're afraid that we're going to blow up planet Earth?" And he didn't laugh. And I'm like, "Okay." And I said, "Well, what can I do about it?" And he said, "You need to assemble the troops. You need to find the ones like you. You need to nurture them. You need to train them. You need to bring along where," he said, "the time is now. The time is now for you to wake up. We remember," he said, "we're supporting you, but you can be asleep no longer." So we talked a while, and I just listened. And then I felt like I was a very important guest, and he was very important, but he was taking time out. It felt like a scheduled appointment. It felt scheduled. And so we leave and we start walking through. There's areas of the ship, and there's social areas. And that's the area that I was telling Neil. I actually found it. It was July 23rd, 2021. They said that they watch us and like Portal Ascension, and they've been watching me because they told me to start this. They tell me the people to have on my channel or who not to. Some people get mad when I don't have people on, but I just get who I'm supposed to and follow that instruction. And so they have holographic screens. They're watching what we're doing, and they're so delighted to see the progress. And so this was an area, and they all can think through telepathy. So as you're walking, everybody hears your thoughts. So, you got to keep it super clean. Don't go, that looks weird or whatever. You gotta keep it together. And as you're walking, everything's just so big. But what I want to say, this other picture where this guy's standing down, looking down, there were different levels, but they had it open where you could see the stars. Then when we're walking around the hallway and we're talking, I'm like, "Where are you taking me?" And I never felt any threat at all. I felt very, he said, well, I'm going to show you around the ship. He showed me around a couple places ship, kind of like I'm on a tour. Uh, like a tour. I used to, with my advertising agency, I would go to many manufacturing plants. And I would go on these tours of how things are made. He took me on one of those tours. And this is propulsion room. This is an engineering room. He said, now this is where I'm going to stop. I want someone take you from here. It was a tall blue Octurian that took me down this hall, and we kind of went around. It got quieter, okay? And the hall looked similar, okay? See these little open areas, but then you'd have a panel. Sometimes it'd be closed. But where this is, the ceiling was open, so you could see space. That's the only thing that was different. You could see the ceiling. You could always see the space. Then we go further. It could get smaller, and it slides open. And I'm like, where are we going? And they're getting ready to drop me off the ship. Apparently, per Preston Denton, they love cleanliness on the ship, even in the astral. So they take me to these baths, and I'm like a Japanese, or a bathhouse. And I'm like, what? And there were these little, looks like Japanese people, okay, with the eyes that kind of went up. They were little, and so you can see the showers down here. The showers were actually. They actually had them on the left side, and they had little walls. They didn't have a pool area here, but they did have an area to the left where you could just sit, like benches, like a little sit there. And I'm like, I just thought this was where I said, you feel better, you have warm bath. That's how they talk to me. You feel better, you have a warm bath. I'm like, I don't need a bath. I don't want to be naked with these people here. And they just acted like they could care less. Like, they were bored about it all. So I was like, oh, and then next thing I know, I'm taking a shower. They put a robe over me. I sit down, and they give me something that looked like hot miso and hot tea. I'm just telling you. So I was telling Preston Denton this. He goes, did they give you a protein bar? I said, no, I like protein bars. They didn't. He goes, did they give you the hot tea? I said, hot miso? I went, miso? I went, yeah. And he goes, yeah, they love doing that. And I've been on the ship where they blow you with air too. They're just obsessed with that. So I've been on there several times, and they're still obsessed with cleanliness. And a couple times I went with Astor, and I'm like, I need to talk to you about these reptilians, and they're creating a problem. And he told me, a few months ago, he gave me a big download. I said, I need to talk to you. And he was actually in a meeting. There's an order to things. And so he was with some other being. It looked kind of amphibian, and he said, just wait a minute. And so I was in an area, and then the door waved again. Here I came in, and time is different there, so he allowed this time. He knew I was coming. Okay, he knew I wanted to talk to him. I said, I want to know about these chemtrails. I don't want to know about these reptilians. And so he said, they have hovercraft cars that they scout. They're called scouts. So they scout out to certain areas of the planet. And he said that these reptilians, the one that are nefarious, he goes, they just do the same thing over and over at every planet. So they like to take over. We know all about it. Don't worry about it. He said, we got it under control. We have seen this so many times. They do the same old thing. And I was like, okay. I said, what about the chemtrails? And then you can see on my Academy of divinewisdom.com what he said about the chemtrails. They're neutralizing the nanobites, so they're not effective. And there's some science stuff in there. I asked a science friend of mine. He said it made sense to him, which is also evidential. So you can check that out. Oh, before we begin. So I want you to think about, what is your astral or physical experiences? And do you remember lives on other planets? I remember a lot where the sky was pink most of the time. So be thinking about, some of these are not dreams. You're actually visiting them. All right. So why are star beings, us, the seedlings, walk-ins, and hybrids here now? Really important. To be the waymakers and to offer humanity gentle, loving solutions regarding post-disclosure, and by our presence to raise the vibration of Mother Earth and to hold the space for others. We do this through how we talk, present ourselves using our innate spiritual gifts. Oh yeah, a lot of you came in with that. Some of you are too chicken to use it, which I can help you with. The time is now. But we do this through our soul essence and thought wave intentions to create a new earth based on Christ consciousness. And there's my little example of new earth, which kind of looks like Lemuria, right? So let's get into this portion of the star beings. The star beings, the modern Jedi. What does that mean? What is a Jedi? And this is the fun part, okay? As referred to in Star Wars movie, the Jedi works for the Force or the Light Force. They use their bioluminescence within to control the elements, including metaphysical power through telepathy, mind reading, moving objects, healing, speaking to former master teachers, sounds like mediumship, and to ultimately maintain balance in this world for peace, harmony, and for good of all. Why are the star beings the modern Jedis? And if you can see, I'm in an actual master Jedi council room. I don't know if there's Yoda behind me somewhere. Where's Yoda? Oh, he's little. You can't see him. He's behind my chair. So why are the star beings the modern Jedi? We carry the code of the Jedi. We came here with the code of the Jedi. Our life mission is to offer harmony and peace through our life force and our Jedi powers. We are the peacemakers, the spiritual leaders, the ones to go against the empire. We're the spiritual rebels or the status quo and think and speak for ourselves. We are self-aware. What is the code of what is the Jedi code of ethics? There is no emotion, there's peace. So I think controlling your emotions, we'll get more into that. There is no ignorance, there's knowledge. There's no passion, there is serenity. There's no chaos, there's harmony. There is no death, there's only the force or the life force that goes on. So I want to just briefly cover this. There are other people on this planet, don't know if you've noticed, they're not working by that code. They're working by what we would call the Jedi, not going too deep with this, Old Republic versus the Empire, which is the cabal here. I thought, when the topic's tense, I try to lighten it up, have a little fun with it. But you look at the Jedi code we just went over, and then that would actually be the gray code of the Jedi. The Jedi code for the masters is a little different, but it's very similar. And then the Sith code, that's about there is only passion, strength, power, and victory. They just want to conquer. So not really in that whole flow of love. So what emotion should we avoid that can lead to the dark force? Jedi were taught to accept the inherent dark side within themselves, and then they conquer it, and not to let it control them. And the when I look at that, I look at something you have. What is it? The old thing you have to deal with it, go through it, come out the other side. But isn't it like a river? The river must flow through you and out through you. It needs to pass through you. And some people call it purging. But it's important we recognize that. And we're all doing that right now because we need to. Whatever's lingering, we're always doing this, but we're really doing that now, fine-tuning that so we can be prepared for this new earth and our new self, right? Enhancing our new self. Dark energies include fear, anger, hate, jealousy, greed, and other negative emotions. All dark emotions had to be eliminated by ongoing spiritual training. It is a constant spiritual purge. How do you access and maintain the force or the light within? Well, you live the code of the Jedi, whether it's a Jedi Knight or a few that reach Jedi Master that sit on the Jedi Council. And those are the ones that work all the time. I'm one of them. I work all toward this, okay? Like many of you watching, okay? Surrender to the divine and higher self, or I say higher selves, right? We want to not be fragmented and acknowledge there are higher selves, like the seed of life, and pull that together as one. Daily commitment to removing dark, negative, fear-based emotions. Fight with the light within, with unconditional love and for truth and peace for all. So I thought, well, if we really need to know about this, I did find a Jedi in training, and he wants to speak about this. And he has something to say because he's been in training. And this is Grogu. Yeah, you're okay. So what do you think about training as a Jedi? Has it been difficult? I know you've been hanging out with the Mandalorian. I know. Yeah. Do you have any advice for everyone? Okay. Eat more cookies. Oh, you like cookies. All right. Well, we're going to let him continue to go to training. And I have training school. He might need to attend the Jedi training school. Okay. We're going to put him back there. Okay. All right. See, hey, it's important to have fun, don't you think? Especially with such tough topics like this. Together, we, the modern Jedi, are stronger as one. Now is the time to leave behind low frequency people, things, bad habits, dogmas, old thought processes, and embrace the way of the Jedi. The way of the Jedi is to be united in their quest to serve as the guardians of peace, ancient knowledge, harmony, and maintaining good balance throughout the galaxy. The Jedi ground themselves in spiritual existence and give up individual desires in order to focus on serving and leading humanity to positive outcomes. Join us now. And I have a call to action. It's called formally a convocation, but it's the same thing as a call to action or a call to arms. Okay, that doesn't mean literally pick up a gun, but to step forward in who you are and being who you are with boldness. And I say to you, remember who you are, an eternal spiritual soul from the stars, this present now, to illuminate your DNA across all multiple dimensions, here and now, in all multiple dimensions. Remember why you're here, to lead and usher others into a new way, a new world filled with love, loving, non-judgment, and to travel to the stars once more through intergalactic travel. That's going to happen. They've already told me that. Can't wait. Intergalactic travel, communications, trade, and relationships. This puts a whole different spin on what Flo said. We're going to marry intergalactically. Relationships with other non-Earth beings, which I'm all for that. I'm totally open-minded. But it's going to be a new way. It's going to affect us not just socially, but every way you can imagine. Accept and appreciate who you are and what you have to offer this world. Now is the time to use your superpowers and combine yours with others like you, which will amplify and enhance this unity power. Be the change. I am, you are, it is so. And how do we mobilize? And I love this. This is some earthlings with some aliens. Again, new look at relationships, new spin on it. Mobilizing and unification within ourselves and our soul tribe. Remember who you are. And I just went over that to lead and usher people through and accept who you are and all of that. I just kind of repeated it. But I love this image here because we need to look at things differently. And how would we handle that scenario being in front of another being that is not from here? They work in telepathy at high levels, so they know what you think. So we need to work on our spiritual manners. So in closing, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, what I can offer you, and then we'll end off. And I appreciate so far everyone watching. So star beings, you are the modern Jedi. And because of that, I'm offering, because you're watching now, because you're on Portal to Ascension to this Ultimate Star Beings Conference, a free $65 value. If you go on my school, I'm charging everybody else $65. I'm just going to tell you, but since you are a Jedi, if you use code Jedi, you get this $65 class for free. And what I'm going to do, because I know all the spiritual art, psychic, medium, I can actually energetically connect and see what you're doing, who you're talking to, who's this or that, where your blocks are. I can, because I'm a Jedi master. Seriously, I've spent my whole life. I've been a spirit and a few times, and trained at the spiritual arts. I've been doing this a long time. I'm very committed to it, and can help in all the areas wherever you are to bring that out, enhance it in areas that you've never thought about. So this is hands-on tutoring. Okay. And that's why I'm going to do Zoom, because I want to see faces. So it is super powered training, and I want you to sign up at academyofdivinewisdom.com. And I actually do have a direct link for you. And I'm going to put this in the chat real quick. Okay. Because it's free. I'm not, look, don't, get the deal. No one else. I'm not telling anyone except for the people at the conference. All right. So let me go ahead and at the very end. And also, if you're interested in this, is it next weekend? I believe so. It's January 27th, Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday. I'm doing a webinar. It's live streaming, but you get to see the replays. It's only $44, but it's for how you can learn to quantum. I should have put astral. It's quantum time traveling. Anyway, quantum time traveling, dimensional exploration, and I can talk to you about how to change outcomes and how I do it and how I go and work on things and change time and slow time and go back and forth. And also psychically, those of you that are intuitive, how you can look at things, and I can teach you what time do you think this is going to happen? What timeline is it going to happen? What's the probability? We can do that too. And you can go in and shift and change that. So I'll actually be going through different exercises and techniques, how you can do that. It's pretty wild stuff. So this is for the advanced, but it's always fun and it's always safe. And I always work in a loving, safe, Christ conscious environment with the archangels of the angelic realm. So it's all good. All right. So then finally, I want to mention that I do have starseed sessions and services, light code activations, past life and soul discovery, earth mission channeling, angelic transmissions and coding, galactic starseed channeling, spiritual mentorship and coaching for whatever you're doing. And so I do light codes. I speak several light codes. I do Atlantean, Elohim, Syrian. I did quite a few. I do reptilian, which kind of freaks out some people. I used to be a reptile. Don't judge. Some of them are very nice. And then for those of you that have a loss or really want to hear about, get messages and information on an Akashic level about your life now, I'm very good at that. Very good at that. If you want to look into that, I really love it. I'm quite good at it. I draw a lot when I'm doing this too, and I channel and do healings. I do whatever's necessary at that time, but it's very involved and a lot of fun. And then finally, anyone watching, I do ascension teachings as well as live medium demonstrations. I have everybody laughing. Again, I'm kind of like Matthew John. I think I'm funny. Again, Syrian, I don't know, but I enjoy doing that. So keep that in mind. I've taught at the Edgar Casey Center. I taught in 2018. I think that's where that picture's from. When I taught at the psychic conference, day of mediumship using Christ consciousness. And so I had about 200 students, and we even showed how to cross someone over. It was so beautiful. So beautiful. And then my YouTube channel, which is streaming right now from Portal of Ascension. And I'm so excited about that. And I have an array of topics, light codes, multiverse, time travel. I mean, we get into it. Whoever I feel is credible and fascinating and will help people, I look to have them on. And I have had many people from Portal to Ascension. I'm going to have Alan Steinfeld on sometime soon. We're doing an interview, I think, in a couple weeks. So excited about that. Had Neil on several times and Joan. And someone mentioned that it was Michelle about T-shirts. I have my own line. I am a highly trained designer, visual designer, writer, dancer. I'm also a martial artist. I'm a first degree black belt, which I did this in my late 40s, 50s. I did this. It was very hard, broke a few bones. A combat in martial arts. So that would be Hapkido. I did that. Just in case, you never know. So I'm a lethal weapon too. But yeah, I designed these T-shirts. I'm a designer, and I work for the Office of Christ, Rockstar Seed, Galactic Federation. And check it out on my store. And I'm going to be putting more in there too, because we need that. And that's what I do. I'm a designer and artist. And finally, I want to say, may the force be with you. I want to thank you for your time today, and let's unite in one positive force for good. Much love.